different direction, and the most obvious question could be how's this all to begin? But if it were to be left in the unknown state, and even though this is to involve the explorative experience of the described walk of life, yet if it were to also explore the notion of support within this physical state. Now, within regards to the ego perspective, it has come to self-select and limit the notion of support within this physical state, which is obviously within accordance to a vast yet limited amount of distinguished knowledge that it has come to descriptively distinguish from a vast yet limited amount of knowledge that it has come to acknowledge from a vast yet limited physical descriptive state of existence. But again, it's also acknowledging that within accordance to this distinguished knowledge, it has also come to create or influence the ego perspective to creatively produce what is able to be described as a manifested, physically distinguished, descriptive state of existence. Now, on a broader perspective, on the notion of support, it would be easily to notice that the notion of support is to encourage, create, inspire, and promote the sensational, emotional state of happiness to be emotionally experienced and sensationally explored within the emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence. Now, within accordance to the ego perspective, it has come to self-select and limit the sensational experience to be emotionally experienced and sensationally explored within this emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence. But it's also acknowledging that the ego perspective has also come to physically describe the sensational state of happiness within a physical state, recognizing that this physical state is easily to be noticed as the materialistic state of money. But again, within accordance to what has been described as a manifested, physically distinguished descriptive state of reality, as with the distinguished knowledge, this ego perspective has also come to be influenced into this idea that success is the route to this physical state of happiness, noticing that success has also been described as a favorable accomplishment within this creatively produced, manifested, physically distinguished descriptive state of existence. But within the context of success also comes the idea of fame, recognizing that the ego perspective is always seeking to be number one within this creatively produced reality, and through this notion of it seeking it to be number one, it is also able to be described as deceitful. But it's also acknowledging that with the ego perspective coming to acknowledge that the idea of success and the idea of a physical state of money is momentary and temporary and limited, this is also to influence the ego to come into a state of envy, jealousy, greed, and even competitiveness, recognizing that this is creating more of a state of sadness than that of the emotional, sensational state of happiness. But as the ego is to become more obsessed with this idea of success and with this idea of a physical state of happiness, it is also to acknowledge that the ego is then also able to be described as psychopathic, whereby it's always to concentrate on its own emotions rather than anybody else's emotions, recognizing that this is also when the psychopathic state is also able to use individuals to gain more of an idea of a success or more of the manifested physical state of happiness, which is again money. So this would obviously realize and clearly indicate that if an individual were to try and break free from the state of controlment, which is also able to be described as abuse from the psychopathic state, the ego perspective would come to be influenced into the state of violence, but recognizing that this state of violence is also able to be described as the state of chaos, whereby the state of chaos is easily able to be described as this infinite state of darkness with this infinite amount of questionable knowledge, and through the emotional consciousness existing within this infinite state of questionable darkness and knowledge, it is also able to be described as a lost soul within this physical state. Okay, so if we were to explore the descriptive context that notices that an infinite amount of questionable knowledge within this infinite state of darkness, which is again able to be described as a chaotic state, has been sensationally attracted into what has been described as the state of infinite emotional reason and purpose. And through this sensational energy, not only attracting this questionable amount of infinite knowledge, it has also come to change the questionable state of the infinite amount of knowledge within itself, thus creating a state of meaning. Recognizing that this state of meaning is also able to be described as the sensational, known, emotional state of infinite happiness. So with that being acknowledged, if it were to also acknowledge that the spirit of earth as that of Gaia is also able to be described as this state of emotional reason and purpose, it has also come to sensationally attract this infinite amount of questionable knowledge into itself, and has come to also sensationally change the questionable state of this infinite amount of knowledge into this known state of infinite amount of knowledge, recognizing that it has also come to be sensationally known unto the physical state, recognizing that this sensationally known state of happiness is also able to be described within the physical state or emotional state of plants, insects, birds, animals, individuals, and even that of the physical state of the earth, recognizing that soil has also been described as a living and breathing organism. But within that context, it would be acknowledging that we are also able to be described as these specks, and that have also come to attract this infinite amount of questionable knowledge, and through the sensation of love, we are able to discover a meaning through that, which is again able to inspire us to create the sensational, emotional, known state of infinite happiness within the emotional, physical state of existence. This would again be acknowledging that through the notion of love, we have come to explore this infinite amount of knowledge with the state of awareness, and through acknowledging it, we again have come to acknowledge it through the state of awareness, which again would come to influence the ego perspective, to be inspired to create the sensationally known emotional state of infinite happiness within this emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence. Recognizing that this notion has created a state of oneness within ourselves, and with the emotional, known, sensational state of happiness being within an infinite state of an emotional experience that is able to be sensationally explored and emotionally experienced by everybody within this emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence, it would be acknowledging that we have come to create what is also able to be described as a state of oneness through this emotional experience, and whereby this state of oneness is also able to be described as the state of unity. Okay, so if we were to acknowledge that an infinite amount of questionable knowledge has been sensationally attracted into this divine state of emotional reason and purpose, and through the sensation of love, it has come to change the questionable state of this infinite amount of knowledge into a meaningful state of infinite amount of knowledge, and that through this meaningful state of infinite amount of knowledge, it has also come to release this infinite amount of knowledge, for it again to be sensationally attracted unto the state of Gaia, for it again to be sensationally changed within itself into a meaningful state, and that through this meaningful state it would again be acknowledging that an infinite amount of knowledge would again be released for it again to be sensationally attracted unto us, that through the notion of love, we are also able to change this questionable amount of knowledge into a meaningful state. On a broader perspective of this, if we were to acknowledge that knowledge is able to be described as vibrational energy, and where vibrational energy is also to be associated with positive and negative vibrational energy, recognizing that positive vibrational energy is supported by sensational vibrational energy, and negative vibrational energy is supported by matter vibrational energy. We'll be acknowledging that a loving notion of advice would be a notion of sensational vibrational energy, and where an opinion would be described as a matter vibrational energy. But with us existing within such an infinite amount of questionable knowledge, we again are only able to discover the meaning of this questionable amount of infinite knowledge through the sensation of love. So, on a broader perspective of this, if knowledge has been described as vibrational energy, it would also be acknowledging that knowledge is also able to be described as an infinite state of knowledge, recognizing that within the center of a proton, it has been described, or it has been scientifically proven, that there is an existence of an infinite amount of knowledge within the center of a proton. But with knowledge being within an infinite state, it again, and with knowledge being attached to the idea of thought, it is acknowledging that this knowledge is also in such an infinite state, it is reaching into the state of sensations. But with love also being described as positive and negative vibrational energies, again, it would be acknowledging that within the state of this vibrational energy of love is also an infinite amount of knowledge, whereby again, through this exploration of this infinite amount of knowledge, which is again beyond thought, which is attached to knowledge, this is to discover more sensation, and this is able to be repeated continuously and endlessly over and over and over and over again. But if we were to acknowledge that from the emotional experience, or even from the experience of what has been described as the meditational experience, that an infinite amount of knowledge has been sensationally attracted, and that through the state of awareness, which is through the state of the sensation of love, we are to explore this infinite amount of knowledge, thus changing this infinite amount of knowledge into an acknowledged state of meaning. It's obviously to recognize that through the vibrational energies of either knowledge and love, we are constantly and continuously and infinitely supported by what is able to be described as a divine state of meaning. Okay, so if we were to reflect on what has been described as the walk of life, which again is an explorative experience, and concerning the infinite amount of knowledge that is also able to be described as questionable, it would be acknowledging that through exploring it through the sensation of life, you are to discover the meaning or the reason and purpose of this explorative experience, whereby the meaning is obviously to be directed to the states of life, recognizing that this is to reveal life and to inspire life. And if life has been described as the known and unknown, it is obviously to equally realize that through exploring this and through experiencing it and through sharing the experience, explorative experience, it would also be sharing and discovering a state of truth within this emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence. Recognizing that through the state of truth, this is also able to inspire change within this emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence. So, with that being said, it's obviously to equally realize and recognize that this will be a 420 kilometer journey that will be entirely walked, that will be explored and experienced during the month of summer. It will be a 10 to 14 day exploration, and it will be a shared experience with individuals along the way, a shared experience through daily posts, and a shared experience through a final feature at the end of the explorative experience. And if life has meaning, it would obviously also equally realize and recognize that this would be revealing the state of peace, love, happiness, truth, possibilities, creativity, and freedom within this emotional, physical, descriptive state of existence. And if that is within equal understanding, then may it be so.